Hi, my name is Paul Burton. I'm the founder of C-Coach. C-Coach is a fully automated life and business coach designed to successfully create change at scale. Change is all too often ineffective because it misses the core ingredients required to succeed. I'll touch on those shortly. My background is in business turnaround. I've invested a fortune in time and money in all manner of different HR processes and found none of them have created sustainable change. So I built C-Coach to scale a model used in businesses time and time again. Sales is a personality thing. And when it's done well, it doesn't feel like a sale. It feels like a service. Something that's going to look after my need or want. But when done badly, I feel like I'm in a process and it misses that personality. And that's when you not only miss the cross-sale, you risk the initial sale and the relationship with the customer that could impact future opportunities. I'm going to specifically discuss how coaching can improve sales, but critically how it does so at scale, creates and embeds a consistent and lasting win-win culture. If you accept that sales is a human game, how do you know what human behaviours require development when we're all different? A sheep-dip approach isn't an effective way of helping people unless everyone has exactly the same starting point, needs, acceptance, desire at the right time delivered in the right way, and even then the change is rarely converted into practice and habit. Coaching personalises change one step at a time, and critically C-Coach and technology enables us to combine change, psychology and neuroscience principles to effect maximum impact. I'm not going to read the individual statements out, but I would really encourage you to do so to be able to understand exactly how much impact that we can have through coaching through technology via C-Coach. So sales combines two elements, human competence and a sales process. And what organisations are typically pretty clear at is what's the sales process we expect people to go through. And what they're typically good at is providing the tools for people to be able to do so. But there becomes an assumption that individuals have got the human ingredients, the human competence to be able to deliver that. So if we take an analogy of baking blueberry pancakes, if we give people the tools to be able to bake a blueberry pancake and we give them the description of what they do, they're part way there. But the assumption that everybody's got the ingredients to do it has a massive impact. It doesn't change the amount of energy and effort that individuals have to put into it. But what it does do is it massively impacts the outcome. What it impacts is the ability, the experience, the reputation, and kind of the delivery on the other end of things. What we go about doing is helping people understand what are the ingredients required to be successful, combined with the process. So once you give people and you can kind of create the clarity of the human skills, so questioning, listening, summarising, overcoming objections, how you build trust, how you build empathy, how you use emotional intelligence both from my side of things but exert that out externally too, how you use understanding about your product to be able to implement that into place. And those are the ingredients that we're too often assuming. What we can equip you to do is to be able to kind of make sure and to bespoke the development that individuals require, because they'll have some of the ingredients already. But what you've got to be able to do is make sure they've got all of the ingredients to be able to kind of deliver. And when you do that, you raise the success factor, you raise your outcomes, you raise the customer experience, but you also raise the internal experience of people that are operating in the business. But it doesn't stop there. How do you go on then to refine the ingredients that individuals have got? So just giving them ingredients is one step. How do you refine the quantity, the quality of what they've got? Because what that goes on to do is to refine the experiences that customers get on the other end, which is going to give you more success time and time again, but consistency across your whole organisation. That means that the customer gets a consistent experience, but also your people do internally. The way we've gone about doing that is we've distilled what experts around the world say are the core ingredients that you require within your human competence. We've then built those into 8 different categories of human success, and they're built inside of the platform for us to be able to orientate and help people to be able to self-reflect and go on a journey. So I'm going to go and touch on what does that mean for your people and what does that mean for you, and to what extent. So if we take each one of them, we've talked about 8 different categories of success in human areas. So if you take the first one, personal well-being, Now, this is something that the better you look after people's well-being and they look after their well-being, the more energy and capability they've got and confidence that they bring to an organisation. So the first thing is, how do you kind of help people turn up to work or be in their own self, be their best self? So kind of that's point one, and that's the foundation for everybody. You then go on to build from there and go, okay, so how are people building a personal brand and a reputation? Now, clearly you're going to have different people in different roles, from being your strategic account managers who are, consultancy selling or whatever the kind of the terminology of the process that you want to be able to use, which we can help you frame and identify, but through to people that are transactionally delivering. Again, there are some of these things that are going to kind of, inside a personal brand, that you're going to need different degrees of competence depending on where you're delivering from and what that type is. So what we help you to be able to do is to work out what roles need what degree and what level of competence in this second area. But everybody's going to need to be able to take accountability and responsibility. The more of the growth mindset they've got, the better they are going to be to deliver and overcome the challenges. Because let's face it, sales is a no game. What you've got to be able to do is to turn all the opportunities into a yes. They start with a no. So you've got to be able to kind of keep on working in that space. Then on to optimizing interactions. And the core ingredients that sit in here are things like rapport and empathy, how you listen, how you question, how you build, kind of an understanding of an individual's needs. Then through to the intelligence that your individuals have about the market, about their competitors, about the product, about the way you work things. And the deeper the intelligence on those side of things is, the better equipped your people are going to be able to kind of deliver and know what they're delivering, how they deliver it, and be able to orientate that for the customer brilliantly. And then there's execute with excellence, which is how are your people working, how do they break down targets. Now, some of these that are in this area here for you are going to be dependent on the delivery mechanism that you have again. So some of it will be, okay, so I've got to do the sale. Some of it is then going to be how do I then go on to make sure that that's delivered. So depending on the process. So you will need different need depending on what type of interaction your people are having and what type of role they're operating at. If we go on from there, then this is more for your potentially for your strategic account managers that are looking after bigger accounts, because innovation and transformation is all around how do I think, how do I use data, how do I collaborate, how do I kind of start to be able to solve problems that are kind of outside of the box thinking. How do you pull that information together and create some new solutions that kind of transform the way that you actually operate and you just kind of deliver to the customer. So that's all fine. That's about the delivery for individuals. But then you've got your line management structure that looking after that. Now they're going to need a number of these different core skill sets or core competence to be able to manage the teams that they operate. But they'll need another layer of kind of competence around how do they manage those individuals to be able to deliver that performance brilliantly, consistently. How do they manage the expectations? How do they evaluate the performance? How do they manage underperformance? And again, this whole framework is about equipping you to be able to kind of replicate your best performers, but also about identifying those performers that aren't performing at the level they need to and be able to change the dial by putting those individuals in the driving seat. And then into your kind of more of your strategic thinking, at your kind of board level, whether or not that's right for now, whether or not that's something that you want to be able to kind of consider at a later date. But what we've done is we've done the thinking, what we've done is we've done the benchmarking, and we've got the standards that are required to execute brilliantly in this space. You can add your own information, your own intelligence, your own levels if you wanted to. So in this, what we can do is we could add in the processes that your salespeople, you want them to follow, and build that into a much more linear kind of process rather than being kind of much more around the competence, which is a different level of understanding. But you've got all that information. The trick isn't about knowledge, the trick is about wisdom, and how do you create that? So I'm going to very quickly explain what we do. I'm not going to spend too much longer on this because I'm conscious of time. But if you're interested, clearly I've got a lot more clarity that I can provide for you, and I can kind of set you up on the system. But let me just give you a taster kind of towards what we do. So you've got lots of different opportunities and lots of different ways that you can go. We've got humans that are kind of individual. How do you solve so many of those issues? Our perspective is that you don't solve those. You equip individuals to do so. And the way that you move knowledge to wisdom is by helping individuals within that framework and within all of those different areas that I just talked about, help them understand what they don't know. And this is kind of where the change kind of comes into play. So change, it has to be owned. So for that to be effective, an individual has to become clear about what their limitations are and what their strengths are. Now, for many of us, that's unconscious. How do we make it conscious? How do we bring it to the fore? Either conscious what we've got a strength, or conscious where we've got weakness, or conscious where we've got a complete gap. And that's where the coach starts, is helping individuals be able to identify that. And every individual potentially will have a different starting place. So just thinking you can sheep dip that is not going to kind of get you wins. The second in that step is about kind of becoming aware of their limitations. So once you know what you don't know, you can then become aware of it, and you've got some decisions and some choices to be able to do something about that. And it's very much about acceptance of where you are and then being able to move forwards. Then you can actually then start to be able to support that with some information, with some intelligence, with some curated content to understand how do you actually then start to be able to change that. Now, this is where an awful lot of kind of technology exists and a lot of training exists, which is we'll tell you what you don't know. But unless you've gone through the journey of accepting it and understanding it and it being personalised to you, then actually what that does is it falls off. It doesn't stick because actually it's not mine and it's not owned. So it misses the trick and it's a lost investment. And then into how do you make it habitual? But the trick is, how do you do this at scale? How do you identify personalised problems across thousands of people? How do you do this personalised? How do you identify what the problem is? How do you connect the right solution in the right way? How do you create ownership? How do you create responsibility? How do you evidence support it without a huge army? And then how do you do it at scale, and how do you do it at low cost? The way we do it is the coach very simply kind of helps somebody go on an individual journey to help them understand where they are right now. The coach quickly prioritises out of all of those different ingredients that I shared with you on the other page. It quickly prioritises where the number 1, number 2, number 3 development area is against the requirement that the organisation has set. What it then goes on to do is to connect them with development resources, 4,000 pieces of bite-sized development resources that is immediately available to help them troubleshoot and kind of go on the journey of development and change. But it will also connect them with other people across the organisation that are either learning in the same area or can help them develop. You can upload your kind of business objectives and then connect any development to those business objectives that are going to support you with delivering. And then goes on to actually then support you with badges, certification, with measurement, with reminders to be able to kind of make that habitual. And then the journey goes on, so it picks up the next development need and drops off the first one. But critically, what it does is it connects managers into the journey too, and helps them understand where they can support and develop somebody. It creates these consistent standards that a manager can then have a conversation with an individual about in areas that they typically wouldn't have that conversation with, because it has human risk for them to be able to go in, and because they're not an expert in everything, it's difficult to have a conversation with somebody else and be critical about their capability when you're not an expert in it. But this framework removes that risk for you to be able to do it. So why is that important? So it brings you back data, it supports an individual to be able to make the changes and the responsibility for an individual to make the changes, but connects a manager to be able to support that. And removing kind of the responsibility for the manager to own everything and putting it into the individual's pocket. After all, they're the only people that can make that change. And then critically, brings you back data about everybody in your organisation, what they can do, what support they've got, what they need, whether or not they're interfacing with the system, what development they've undertaken, where you've got risks across your organisation in terms of gaps, where your best people can perform versus your other people, and you can then fast track the development that you need to be able to put those people through. I'm going to stop there, but to suffice to say that there are lots of outcomes that are going to come from this for you. I'll let you, kind of read through those for yourself. In short, we can help you as an organisation not only unlock capability at an individual level to be able to kind of create these sales, but to create an amazing environment where people work, where you've got a caring environment where it becomes sticky and you can make that change, and to be able to do so critically at scale. I haven't touched on it, but the interaction with a coach enables you to be able to kind of either bypass or complement lots of existing HR processes to be able to kind of therefore help you save money and make more money. I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'll leave that with you and with Derek, and I hope to hear from you soon. Many thanks.